What good am I to anyone? Why is God keeping me here? It's not entirely unusual for us to hear such discouraging statements from people who are ill or disabled or in advanced age or infirmity, who are no longer able to do what they once did. So they fear that their very existence is somehow a burden to others, and often they're not hesitant to express that. While we can never agree that those who are no longer able to be as active or productive as they once were are indeed a burden, still this points out how important it is to us as human people to have a place, to have a purpose in life, to feel that we are in fact doing something worthwhile, to know that we are still somehow making a contribution. So then, we might better understand the miracles of Jesus, which beyond being physical cures, are indeed genuine healings that not only address the disease, but in fact, the whole person. And this is certainly the case in today's gospel with the healing of Simon Peter's mother-in-law. And while we don't know a great deal about her, from the gospel account and our knowledge of the culture of the Middle East in the first century, we are able to make some pretty good assumptions. For if she was in fact living with Simon Peter and his wife, who is her daughter, then that tells us that she was widowed. Yet as a widow, she would have normally been living in the home of her husband's family, the one that she went to upon her marriage, where now her adult sons would still be living, and if married, so would their wives. But because she is living with her daughter and son-in-law Simon Peter, this suggests that she has no living sons or other family. And so she is in the most vulnerable of positions, having little or no security for her older years, having no right, according to cultural custom, to live in the house of her son-in-law. We can understand then how very important to her dignity and is this, that in exchange for her kindness, she might be able to make some contribution to that household. But along comes an illness marked by a fever that disrupted all that. And so, in her discouragement, she might have very well been mumbling, "What good am I anymore to anyone?" But Jesus, knowing this, shows such great compassion for her and takes the illness with its fever away from her. But more importantly, in the process of doing so, he restores her dignity and self-worth. As we hear, she gets right up and gets right back to work, waiting on them, feeling that in that she has some real value, that she's making a contribution. So when we see that bigger picture, we see how much bigger a deal was this act of kindness on the part of Jesus. For in this case and so many others in his ministry, Jesus' miracles are so much more than the removal of a disabling condition. They're in fact a restoration to life itself in every aspect. And so we see how the gospel applies to us. For more than curing us of a fever or any illness, Jesus offers us the fullness of life. For in taking us into his household in baptism, and then healing us when we need to be through his loving and forgiving grace given to us in the sacraments of healing, be that the sacrament of reconciliation, or if necessary, the anointing of the sick. nourished by Jesus and strengthened by him in word and sacrament, we are healed in that we can fulfill our purpose in life, which is to be his disciple. And in that, our lives always have meaning, because discipleship can be accomplished whether we are well and strong or sick and weak, whether we are old or young, because following Jesus requires strength of mind and spirit more than that of body. For when we are no longer able to physically pitch in to help out as we might want to do, then we are still spiritually able to make a contribution to others through prayer. And so the good news is that as disciples of Jesus, our job is never done, and we never have to ask, what am I still doing here? We always have a purpose in life and in death.